Hey, this is Raffles a lot with a tutorial video for Kurgal, the Lich boss in the Delve. This is at depth 900, so he has reasonably good damage and reasonable tankiness, but the mods are fairly safe. Before going into the fight, you should know that almost all of Kurgal's damage is physical, with some chaos thrown in. First of the attacks we see here is Kurgal's Lasergrid. This attack will do massive amounts of damage if you stand in it, so just move and you will get more connected lasers the longer the fight goes on. Fairly easy to avoid. The next attack we see is the Pillar. It doesn't do any damage on its own, but he will set up to 3 to 4 of them at a time, and they only become dangerous when he tries to explode them, which you'll see later in the fight. After this pillar attack, you will see Kurgal's basic attack. He does a slow wind up and then throws out a projectile which does a small to medium amount of damage. Easily avoidable, but will not kill you for most builds. Here you see that Kurgal throws out a little bit of debris. After a short time, this debris will explode, doing significant AoE damage. It's easy to avoid, just leave the area. When you see Kurgal stop and squat, you know he's about to somersault into the air and throw out this tracking laser. It is incredibly deadly and probably his hardest attack to avoid. You need to know the animation for when he's about to do it. Just stop attacking at that point and start moving. Circle is fine, however, if you have the laser grid blocking your path, you may need to flame dash or use another movement ability to cut back and forth across it. When Kurgal starts windmilling his arms after stopping for a bit, he was about to shoot a chest laser out at one of the pillars he's created on the map. The pillars will then chain explode, removing all of them and doing large amounts of AoE damage around any of the pillars on the ground. This explosion is enough to one-shot most builds, depending on the depth and damage mods. So the safest places to go are the four corners, especially if there's an increased AoE mod. At 50% HP, Kurgal will go into darkness mode. At this point, random abyss monsters like you fought in the Delve will start popping up, giving you a chance to regenerate flask charges. You can use flares to light the way at this point, or if you do not have any flares or don't want to waste them, you can hover near any of, I think, 3 to 4 green crystals that provide a small amount of light. Kurgal also has one other attack that he did not use during this fight. He will envelop an area in a persistent explosion that will linger for approximately 10 seconds. Again, easy to avoid if you just stay out of the area. After Kurgal's first life bar is depleted, he will transform and gain an additional life bar, although not as much HP. It's at this point that the fight becomes much more dangerous. If you have any Vol skills or flask charges for damage remaining, pop them now. The crystals on the ground now periodically spawn spinning lasers that do significant damage. Kurgal's basic attack becomes a 2-shot combo with 3 projectiles that must be sidestepped rather rapidly to avoid. After a certain period of time, Kurgal will spawn 2 extended laser beams from each of his arms and arc them toward you. You will need to dash through him or use a movement ability to go behind him, and then at the end of the arc, he will do a small AoE explosion in front of him. Do your best to dodge his attacks, and at the end of this, Kurgal will die.